The PFL's best fighter continues to have struggles getting a fight. The PFL will not let their best fighters, their most expensive fighters, fight for absolutely no reason at all. They'd like to say that they make a lot of money and they're very successful, but how can you pay your fighters? You can't exactly pay your fighters. You claim to pay your fighters. You claim to be better than the UFC, except still Patchy Mix cannot get a fight because you cannot afford to let him fight. Patchy Mix last night speaking out against the PFL and specifically Don Davis. My manager told me to hold off, but haven't heard anything from Don Davis or the PFL. If you are not going to have me fight, then just please release me from my contract. This is not what I want, but if I'm not important to the company enough, being a multi-time champion, multi-time belt defender, then please let me go respectfully. This is a continuing and ongoing story with the PFL and their Bellator fighters that cannot seem to get fights because they simply are too expensive. However, they still are not earning millions of dollars, so there really isn't all that much money to be doled out, especially when Jake Paul and hip-hop stars like Nav are getting big paydays to just pop up for 10 to 15 minutes per show. This is absolutely insane. They pay for concerts, they pay for fighters to go over to Saudi Arabia, they put on events in Saudi Arabia, but they can't pay their American fighters, their homegrown talent, to fight in the PFL or Bellator. It just keeps getting worse and worse. The Bellator MMA event schedule for New Year's Eve in Japan has been removed from the Bellator website. This is the third Bellator event canceled in 2024. These are events that were fully scheduled out, fully booked out, like the UFC. Back in the day, John Jones was supposed to be fighting, I believe, Dan Henderson. The fight fell through. Nothing happened. They didn't even reschedule the event. It was a big hoopla, big problem with the UFC, and now Bellator has done that 3 times within 6 months of each other. October 12th in Chicago, November 16th in Paris, December 31st, New Year's Eve. It's all been canceled, and there's only one fight card on the docket. They're supposed to be having 8 or 9 events per year, 2 titles per event. They couldn't even get 2 titles on any of their events they held this year. It's been absolutely horrendous for the PFL. Ariel Helwani speaking about the PFL, and they just need to change their entire business model. Listen in.
The fight game is not built on regular season standings, playoffs. That's not fighting. That's the NFL, that's the NBA, and when you try to equate that model to the fight game, it does not work. It will never work. I will say this, and you can use me on what's that thing? Freezing cold takes. It will never work. Will there be some level of success? Absolutely. But they will never overtake the UFC in this regard. They will never, ever come close if they stick to this model. It is unequivocal. This is the easiest hot take of all time. They will never come close. They will never sniff because you will get hamstrung by it, because you'll try to build up this guy versus this guy, and this guy will falter and lose, or he'll be banged up or whatever, and it just won't work out. That's not how you sell tickets. That's not how you sell pay-per-views. That's not how you sell stories. And it gets frustrating to watch because I feel like they don't quite get it. And I think they're all great people, Peter Murray and Don Davis, but I don't know if they're fight people, and they're trying to shoehorn sports, regular sports, stick and ball sports to the fight game. And it's a whole different beast.
Absolutely, very well said by Arrow there. The fight game is not sports, okay? Other sports are not MMA. Other sports are not combat sports. It's a totally different animal. And guys, pencil pushers, nerds, analysts cannot come in and run a fight promotion unless you understand the fight game. The PFL management does not understand the fight game whatsoever. They're completely at a loss for what to do at every waking moment. They cannot understand what to do, what their next move needs to be, the fights that need to happen, the fights, the interests that we have as fans. They don't care. They don't understand. They just want to push forward this narrative that they are making a lot of money. And everybody's just tearing into them. It's not just that they can't pay their fighters and their fighters are upset like Patchy Mix here in that tweet from last night, but the PFL's issue is that they have too much going on. Perfectly said here by this guy, Jack. All these different divisions. Who cares about the Champions League of MMA? We just want to see the best fights, the best storylines come together. Bad blood, good blood, respect, whatever it is. We want good fights, and that's what I'll come to see an event for. I'm not going to a PFL event because they don't even allow elbows. It's not even real MMA. Okay? It doesn't even make any sense. Again, why are we not just destroying PFL? Why is the media not out there in droves, dragging them, raking them over the coals with this stuff? Leandro Higo, very frustrated. Don't know when we're fighting. This has been 2 fight cancellations. Patchy Mix talking about the fight cancellation. Patricio Pitbull can't fight, can't get a fight. He wants to fight 3 times, wants to fight on New Year's Eve, isn't even being contacted by the PFL in any manner. They're just letting stuff air out in social media, and that comes in some way to the fighters as a respectful way to do business and a hand-to-hand deal, a handshake deal kind of thing. No, we just skip the handshake, skip the respect. We're just going to post it on social media and let them find out for themselves. Absolutely disgraceful. Patricio going in last week on all this stuff. Patchy Mix going in on him. I mean, this is rough. Again, Damon Martin, Corey Anderson's been out since March. Patchy since May. They just can't seem to get these guys fights. Why not? Because they're former UFC fighters. They're former Bellator champions that are paid too much money for the PFL to afford because the PFL's not making the money that they claim that they are making. All they're doing is getting TV deals, and the executives are shoveling that money right into their pockets.